Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DM Disruption. I'm the host, Dawn Brolin. I'm a certified public accountant, certified fraud examiner, and the author of the Designated Motivator. We're here to help motivate you to take your practice to the next level. Have you considered outsourcing your client's payroll? Well, I did, and I went with ADP. The resources they provide, along with their partner program, make them the premier outsourcing payroll solution. We as practitioners already deal with a ton of compliance. Keeping up with payroll isn't a value-added solution that I should be focused on. If you've considered outsourcing before, reconsider it today. Choose ADP to be part of your starting lineup. So on today's show, I couldn't be more excited because we're going to talk to James Upton today. James, the owner of Upton Accounting in Seagrove, North Carolina. So James, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming because we want to talk about kind of what's been going on in your coconut and how can we help that coconut feel better, right?
And it's great to be here, Dawn. Thank you so much for asking me on the show.
Yeah, you're the reason I wrote this book. You are the reason, right? So it's been quite a rough year and a half for the accounting industry, just, us being practitioners, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your story. Tell me what's going on, because I am here to do nothing but help motivate you, help you take some action and get, kind of bring your life back to you, James, because that's what I honestly, genuinely care about.
Well, I tell you what, Dawn, I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Yes.
I actually have been in the accounting and tax business probably all my life. Our family's had an accounting and tax business, ever since I was born, and I've worked in this business since I was 16. I went on, and because families, I'm in the South, and here in the South, oh yeah, can you hear it? Can you hear it in my voice?
A little bit.
Yeah, I apologize to the listeners out there for burning your ears. But what I was going to say is, here in the South, it's kind of one of those things that people expect you, if your family has a business, that you'll just pick up the reins and continue on with that business. So I had went to college at Gardner-Webb University and got an accounting degree, and then I went on and got my master's. In the time between my BS and my master's, my aunt, who had been the owner of the firm, she developed stage 4 breast cancer. And so she ended up having to step away. And I became the president of the firm when I was 24 years old. So wow. I've had to have a lot of motivation in my life.
Yes.
And I felt like for many years that I've been a motivator of people, and I've been highly motivated. And I'm just going to be honest with you, the pandemic and everything that's happened has just completely crushed me. I've had some personal things also. We actually ended up getting married last year it was 2019. 2020 is the year that never ended. And so we still say last year's 2019. The last year that we lived, it's kind of like, I feel like, how we have Anna Domini, and I feel like we need to have another, I feel like it's an epic of time. Like we need to create some type of numbering system to say we're going back to zero now, and this will be year one, But what I was going to say is I had gotten married, and that's a huge change in life because I had put my career ahead of my personal life. So I turn in, I get married, then trying to be a newlywed during COVID, and then everything just kind of goes off the rocker. And that's personal stuff. I won't get into that. But in the course of last year, I went through a COVID pandemic. March 15th, all my staff is scared to death they're going to die. They go home. And everybody, if you've ever been in an accounting practice, March 15th is, it's one of the biggest days of the year.
Right.
So March 15th, all my staff, I have 6 staff besides myself. I have a business partner and 6 staff. So my staff, they're in here and they're like, it's almost like we're looking for the asteroid to hit. And and everybody's like, let's go home. These taxes don't matter. They've extended this deadline. We're all going to die anyway. So it doesn't matter, because to begin with, it was almost like a nuclear blast, like let's walk outside and take a breath and just dine out. Let's just lay down, um, or when are the walkers going to start walking down the streets? That's what we're looking for. And so all the staff goes home. Well, me and my business partner, we're like, we still have a firm to run. We still have a base overhead, and we still have returns that have to be done. And so we just continue slogging. We just continue slogging through returns. And we did that until April 15th because we were used to that. And then we were kind of like, we're going to have a mental reset. And so we waited till after the April 30th deadline, and I took a week off the first week of May and just tried to reset. And then through the course of all that, we just realized that a lot of things were in my personal life was not going well at that moment. And so I ended up becoming separated, get this, July 19th. So we had July 15th, and then July 19th, I became separated. So what I went through was from July 19th to September 8th, I was at work, but I was just going through the motions. And so I was in a fog. And my business partner, she is my motivator. We're always talking about the motivator. She's one of my motivators. And when I can't motivate myself, she usually can motivate me.
Gotcha.
So she steps in and she says, James, I need you to do some work. And I'm like, okay, great. And so she's like, I need you to review these 40 corporate returns, and I need you to sign off on these 30 individuals that are connected to these corporates. And she said, we need to get these issued, and then I need you to get on board with getting another 150 returns done by October 15th. So I was like, okay, sounds like a plan. So somehow I dug deep and got through it.
Got to get in the gut.
Right, yeah. You'll find out talking to me, I'm a big talker, but at the same time, just all of this from the pandemic and the personal stuff, I lost a lot of motivation. And, I'm 41, and this pandemic has made me kind of re-examine my career choice and just everything.
Right. So, all right. So let's talk about that for a second. So it's the volume of work that is what is over, like what's killing you from the firm perspective.
Okay. From a firm perspective, number one, if you'll think about it, okay, if you take 6 people that were working, okay, and you multiply 6 people times, here in our office, we do generally like a 9 to 6, and we have a few that work on Saturdays, but just for easy math, just say 45 hours. So 6 people times 45 hours. Okay, that's 270 man hours each week, and we lost that from March 15th to June 1st. And what's so bad was, we really should have kept working. Hindsight's 2020. We should have kept working because it was after they came back was when everybody started saying, "Oh, my kids' daycare is closed," or my husband has quarantined at his work, or my wife has been exposed and I'm gonna have to be out 10 days. I mean, and that's when it finally hit. And really, I feel like if it ever happens again, I know better what to do. But back to the firm aspect, 270 hours times, just say 8 weeks. So that's 2,160 hours.
That's a whole year's worth of work for one person.
Correct, right, yeah. And so that puts us way behind. And then when I faced some personal challenges, I was already behind, and then even more behind.
Snowballed.
Right, yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I'll tell you what's happened to me is I have a telephone list. I don't know if you probably don't do that. You're probably smarter than I am. But here, the telephone calls that I don't answer, the staff put them in a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, and I have all those, and they update those, and they say this person, this is their second call or whatever. Well, here's the thing. Once I've spent 10 hours here, and I try to catch some phone calls, but in the course of the day, I might get 8 to 10 phone calls.
Yes.
It's hard to return those calls. Mm-hmm. And then I have people that are emailing me. I have work. and I still have people now that want to come in and meet face to face. So I just feel the crush, the volume of work. But what nobody's talking about is how the IRS is so far behind in processing, and they're not doing anything for us.
No.
I've got probably 10 or 12 cases laying here on my desk I can't resolve because I can't get the IRS on the phone, or they won't process their mail.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I think that that's part of our problem is that, we're working our tails off. And, I had a guy who just came in like about an hour ago, and he's somebody who didn't file a 17 return. So we had a paper file the 17, and there's a refund. I know he won't get the refund, but would be a credit on the account, whatever, to offset some future tax and stuff. I think we got it in before the deadline, et cetera, et cetera. And he's coming
I rushed to get one in. I rushed to get one in too. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, let's get it in here before the mail. Let's hurry up. Right. And so, so we got the clients that are coming in, they're asking me the same freaking question every week. And I'm like, Joe, I got us an extension to October 13th. This guy gave me, he's like, let's wait to let all the returns process and everything can wash out or whatever. And it's like, so they think we aren't doing our job. Right. Because and
it makes you feel defeated. Because I've always, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a rookie at this. I've done this 18 years. I've been the president of my state accounting society. I'm not a CPA, but I am an enrolled agent because tax is my specialty. But I do have a master's in accounting with a concentration in taxation. Tax research was one of my things that I loved. I mean, when you say you love tax research, you're obviously a tax nerd. But anyway, for these clients to come in and say, James, you're just letting me down. And I'm like, I've got the gas pedal down. I'm throwing gas on the fire and no results,
Yeah. So, and I think that's why I was so interested in talking to you, because that is definitely, it is very common. And that's just how people are feeling right now. It's like, so the way I kind of looked at it, so I'm just 100% virtual, always, kind of embraced that for about 12 years now. I've got all my tax software hosted in the cloud. I've got everything. I can grab a MacBook. So when the pandemic did hit, we only had 3 total staff, myself plus 3 people, 2 billable. One's my virtual assistant. She's phenomenal. She's been with me for like 8 years. I was able to say, hey, take your laptops, go home, work from home, no problem, right? And we have everything's in the cloud, so they can grab the documents so we don't really skip a beat. If anything, we brought on about 70 or 80 new clients last year.
Well, and we have a lot of that in process. The thing is, our admin, we still have a front desk here. So, we lost those people. And I did have 2 people working virtually. And then I had one lady that we would, she would come and pick up things and go back home. And, because we have clients, we do virtual we do CFO services. So we have to go pick up mail. There's so much that has to be physically handled, So, anyway.
Yeah. And that's really tough. No, it's really hard. So I just find I think it's we just have to have this club of people, a club. And, there's a lot of great Facebook groups out there. I'm a part of one's I think it's called the Sisterhood of the Lady Tax Pros. And they are awesome. It's they'll put, what, I'm down today. And we see a lot of what you said in your comment. We're seeing that everywhere. People are just feeling so defeated, like you said. And it's I think it does make you feel a little bit better that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, tax Twitter has really lifted me up. I love tax Twitter, and because we're all sharing, the pain that we're in together. It's professional pain, and sometimes it's personal pain, but we are sharing it. And it's true.
It's true. So I love what you said about your business partner, who's your motivator, right?
She is. I've had a lot of motivators in my life, but right now she's pretty much my motivator. And we try to motivate each other because there's some days, she'll tell me, she'll say, I can't do this today. And usually the days that she's down are the days that I'm up and we can make it work.
Then it's perfect combination right there. I love that.
Synergy.
And that is just so important right now. And that's where the message of the designated motivator is all about. Who do you have in your organization who is motivating you, who is helping you get through those tough days? And we all have them. Everyone has them. There's not one person in this world who's every day is awesome. No, it's not a thing. So And that's what the message I'm trying to get out to a lot of the accounting professionals, all of the accounting professionals, is if you don't have the partner that you have, James Upton's got his motivator, and James Upton's business partner has her motivator.
Right.
And if you're by yourself, you got to find one, because
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll talk to you about that for just a moment. I mentioned that I had been president of North Carolina Society of Accountants in times past, and prior to having a business partner, I actually, I'll just go back in time. I think it was 2004 was when it was October 31st, 2003 was the day I took over this firm. So It's 18 years this Halloween.
Wow.
So anyway, for the first few years, I was on my own. My aunt had passed, and I was on my own. And so I had my mom. She had retired from another career, and she was kind of helping. And I had my aunt's staff. She had two staff. So to begin with, it was just me and two of my aunt's staff and my mom. But so small. We were smaller to start with.
Right.
And, the business it started growing. Just the natural outgrowth of just change, embracing technology, and we were blessed. So I remember I had not really took part in any associations or organizations, and I kept getting invitations to come. And this is something I would share with people that listen to this. Don't forsake face-to-face organizations and interactions. Our organization was having chapter meetings. We had a local chapter, and I would say, that's a waste of my time. I can make more money at the office. Well, I remember one day, and I'll tell you how this happened. This is a true story. A client came to me and they said, "Hey, we're going to be leaving your firm." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Why is that?" And they said, "Well," said, "we were at a meeting, which our local Chamber of Commerce has a professionals network meeting. And they met a guy, because in these professional networks, they always have one of each profession, if you've ever heard of it, like one insurance agent, one attorney, one accountant, whatever." So anyway, they met this guy at their professional meeting, and for whatever reason, he just told them, he said, "Who's your accountant?" And they said, "James Upton." And he said, "Hey, that guy doesn't know anything. He's just a kid." Okay. So I knew he was in this organization. So, and that's what I was going to tell you. So sometimes you can start out to be vindictive or have the wrong mindset, and things can still work out. And I'm a Christian, so I don't believe in karma, but I do believe in providence. But let me go ahead and say this. I go to the meeting with the intention that this guy does not even know me, and I'm going to make sure the next time he says James Upton's just a kid and he doesn't know anything, that he's going to have a face to put with that name, because I'd never met him. So I get to the meeting and meet some genuinely great people. And I'm like, wow. So through that organization, in my local chapter, I met great people. Then I went on to some state meetings and met people from all over the state. And I met a lady that has actually, become a mentor to me. And I have some gentlemen that are too. But there was this one accountant that was, and I still consider her a mentor to me. When I was starting out, number one, my fees were too low. And number two, I was working too hard, which I'm back to that. That's what happens. But I remember she told me, she said, "Let me tell you," she said, "you are spending too much time working for people who don't value you." And that she was my motivator. And something I noticed in your book, you talked about the difference in an encourager and a motivator. And in my life, I've always wanted to be an encourager. But I realize now from reading your book that being a motivator is so much more important, because an encourager makes you feel better in the moment, but a motivator is somebody that's going to challenge you to make changes that will make you better down the line, all the way through your life.
Yes.
And I never had really grasped that until I read your book.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I will tell you that. But that lady, I remember one time I had a project to do, and she told me, I called her up and I said, and I'll go ahead and tell you, her name is Florence Black, and I'll go ahead and give her credit, Florence Black.
Okay.
And she's a wonderful accountant in Fayetteville, North Carolina. But I'll tell you what, this tells you how motivators go through generations. She told me, she said, I learned how to be big and tough. I'll just use that kind of word because we're on a podcast. She learned how to be big and tough from the guy that she started working for, which was a man named Bobby Murphy. And she said, he would go to the client, and she said he just owned who he was, and he knew he was worth his value. And he would say, "This is your fee." And if they bought, he would say, "That's great." He said, I respect that." He said, "I've got 10, 12 other people who are ready to come in here and work with me. Thank you so much. Have a good day." And he would escort them out the door. And so I never had been that confident. And she told me, she said, "You know what you're doing." And she said, "You've got to have that confidence." And she said, "But make sure if you're going to build like this, deliver the value that you promised." And so that's the thing. I remember that first project though. I had a client, and I ended up, and I'm ashamed saying this, but it was a very lucrative engagement, the most lucrative engagement I had ever been involved in. And the client, believe it or not, they did not balk, and they knew I was worth it, and they paid me. And
Absolutely.
so that was my first time saying, I didn't lowball. And so
Right.
that's one thing that has changed. So, our firm, we're almost to $1 million gross revenues here in this firm now.
That's
And I
awesome.
know that doesn't sound huge. I mean, I'm in the South, but at the same time, for me, it was great.
It's a
And
big deal.
you're right, yeah. So.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you. And that's what I was going to say. Through my state society, I met those designated motivators. And then when things started growing and blossoming, those same people told me, they said, "Hey, you can't carry this load alone." And they coached me in saying, "Hey, you need a business partner." And they were also the ones that told me, "This is your brand. You built this firm. You need to have a business partner, but you need to maintain majority." And they
right.
helped me to go through a lot of that planning process. And these people have affected me positively, for the rest of my career. But what I go back to is that lady, the motivation she received from her mentor has passed down to her, and now she's passed that to me, and I'm hoping to do that to others as well.
And you will, James. There's no doubt about it. Just having this conversation with you, I don't know. I just feel like we have to just stick together. We
We
really do.
do.
And you know what? You motivated me when Gaynor reached out to me and told her what had happened. I'm like, get him on the phone now. Get the boy on
Well,
the phone.
the day I was writing that tweet, I was kind of down, and I was just like, I'm to the point of no motivation. And I'll tell you what that no motivation looks like for me. It's where, I know I've got work piled up, and I just don't care. It's where our batteries are completely drained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I think the whole accounting profession's right there now.
I agree. And that's what we're going to try to revive. We're going to try to
Yeah.
revive them. And that's why there's a sequel to that book that'll be coming out this fall, really specifically for the accounting industry that I'm really excited about, that we can just help, push people forward. So between you, me, your mentors, other people's mentors, I mean, we all have them, and people that are motivating us. And that's the key, because talk is talk, but when you actually do something about it and say, you know what, even if today's going to be my day, I'm going to go get this day. This is going to be my day, and nothing's stopping me. And you just plow through like the guy who goes in with the confidence. And that's the hard part, because it's the hard part to just be willing to do that. It's so much easier to lay down. It's easier to just stay in your room, for instance, right? And I've done that. I've been there.
We
I
all
don't want
have.
to get up. I don't want to get up. And then it's like, the kid pops into your head, or somebody pops, and you're like, all right, I'll get up.
Well, I tell you, for me, something that I've realized is because of the pandemic, I put a lot of self-care on the back burner. So
Yeah.
part of me trying to regain motivation has been saying, okay, I'm taking time for self-care. And, I hired a trainer. I met with her Friday, the things that you've got to do. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, we're professional people. We're intelligent. And that's why I tell myself I'm too intelligent for this. And I've investigated and invested too much into my development I love to teach, but sometimes you have to teach yourself and you have to go deep and you have to say, okay, this is coming from the inside of me. I've got to reach down and motivate myself.
Yes.
And I know there's times, and you mentioned it too, there's times that, mental health can suffer. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be honest with you, I was somebody that I got so overwhelmed, and I'm going to have an honesty moment here. And I know I'm on a podcast, but I'm going to do this because it helped me. Um, there was one day back in early March, and my business partner comes in and she says, you're not functioning well with the way things are going. And she realized that I was sitting here having panic attacks.
Mhm.
I'd be the thermostat be on 75, and I'd be going to get the sweater and put on because I was freezing, feeling my scalp crawling and everything. And she's like, you need to go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor, and I said, this is kind of what's going on. And she's like, you're having anxiety and panic attacks. And I'm like, really? You got to be kidding me. And she's like, yeah. She said, we're going to give you a little something for anxiety. And she did very low dose. And within a week's time, I felt like a brand new person. So that's what I'm going to say is don't be afraid. This is not a lifetime thing. There are times, and this pandemic and this workload that we've all been faced with, because here's the thing, I'm not an unemployment specialist. I'm not a PPP loan specialist. I'm not an SBA loan specialist. I'm not an employee retention credit specialist. I'm becoming all of those things.
Mhm.
But what people don't realize is, you know, first of all, we were facing, you know, news briefings every day. People are dying, people are dying, people are dying. But yet our job is getting, piled on more and more, and we're
Mhm.
having to learn brand new things on top of everything we already have to do. So
Right.
accountants have faced, I think, our most difficult challenges and some of our most difficult moments. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, all of us, just like me, we all still have our personal lives, you know. And here's the thing, family's number one. Family has to be number
Has
one.
to be. Has to
But
be.
even more so than that, your own self-care and looking after yourself,
Yeah.
because there's times that you need to be able to say, you know, I'm going to have to check out. And I'm not saying for all day, but it's
Right.
okay. And I've had to learn this. It's okay to say, I'm not answering emails today. I'm not answering phone calls today. Or I'm going to plan to come in at 11 a.m. today. Or I'm
Right.
leaving at 4 o'clock today.
Mhm.
It's not a crime.
It's
And
not.
something I've done is I've sacrificed relationships and things with friends. And especially we didn't have them during COVID times because we couldn't meet. But now I'm back to where one of the greatest things I used to do was I used to plan to go have breakfast with a friend every Friday, and so
Okay.
I'm trying to get back to that. It's all self care. It's all
It
self
is.
care, and the
Yeah.
thing is, we've got to motivate each other to self care and to doing all these things. We've got to.
Absolutely. And Heather Satterley is a great example of that. She went back to horseback riding. I went and coached the softball team, which is why the book even happened. But
Wonderful, yes.
right. And that's life is short. Like I decided once we got past that May deadline, I work 10 to 4. I'm going to do the best I can to get as much done as I can. Obviously, some days I stay till 8 or 9.
Right.
If I got stuff, it's okay. But I feel like mentally, it's like I'm okay with. I like to just lay in bed, read Facebook, watch me some TikToks because I love the funny animals. I have my newest favorite TikTok are these dogs that are literally howling, but they're screaming, and I cry every time I watch it. Like that's the stuff I want to fill in my head in the morning. Good stuff, happiness, and hopefully one person that I see throughout the day or talk on the phone to that I can step back. And even my guy Joe that comes in constantly, I don't know, he's just got nothing to do, not getting frustrated with him like, Joe, I'm trying to get stuff done so I can get out of here and be like, hey Joe, what's going on, come on and sit down, type of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm really making a mental decision to be more patient and be more, and I don't pray for patience because that's never a good idea.
No. That's my best spiritual advice I would give you. Do not pray for patience.
Ever. So I mean, really at the end of the day, James, I'm so glad that we got to talk, and I hope, and I want to continue the conversation with you, so we can just stay in touch, and I'll give you can
Absolutely.
motivate me, I'll motivate you, and we'll stick together.
Well, I tell you something, you really have motivated me. And reading your book and seeing how, because what you've done is you took your experience with the team And you were able to motivate them. And I think people don't realize a lot of our job as accountants is to motivate our clients.
Absolutely.
Because I think we see potential in businesses and clients that maybe they don't see. And,
Yes.
I've had clients that were ready to throw in the towel and they'd say, I don't feel like I'm making any money. And I'm like, yeah, you actually are. And this is going to pass.
Yeah.
And I've got clients that have stayed in business because I've been able to motivate them. But,
Right.
but I think we struggle finding those motivators ourselves sometimes. And so it's okay to reach out and say, hey, I need some motivation,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you've done great with that. And I appreciate you motivating me.
Yeah, you're great, James. I mean, you're on my mind all the time. We're gonna stay in touch for sure, and I'm gonna have you back on in like a handful of months once you've gotten get through this, and then I want to hear more about how it ended up. Because your story is always going on. So you're gonna be my bread pillar, and
That's great.
But thank you for joining the DM Disruption podcast today, and James Upton. I love you, man, and I will be in touch with you. Okay.
Thank you. Take
All
care.
right. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Feel free to visit johnbrolin.com in order to motivate you to improve your practice. Wishing you all the best. Have a great day.